What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back for another Game of Thrones Season 7 breakdown video. Season 7 Episode 2 just ended, so let's discuss everything that went down. The episode starts off at Dragonstone during a thunderstorm, which is a nice callback to the name of this episode, which is also one of the nicknames Daenerys Targaryen has. This episode was titled Stormborn. Daenerys Targaryen was born on Dragonstone during a very bad storm, and now that she's back in Westeros and back on Dragonstone, she's about to bring a storm of her own. We go inside Daenerys Targaryen's war room where she is having a meeting with Tyrion, Grey Worm, Missandei, and Varys. The theme of the conversation they're having is serving. Daenerys puts Varys' serving into question. Varys used to work for the Mad King, which is Dany's father, but after the Mad King was murdered by Jaime Lannister, Varys started working for Robert Baratheon, the same man who killed Daenerys' brother during the battle at the Trident. Daenerys also knows that Varys played a role in her assassination attempt all the way back in Season 1, when the wine merchant tried to serve Daenerys poisoned wine. Daenerys questions whether she can now trust Varys or not, and Varys talks about how he doesn't serve any king or queen, he serves the people, he serves the realm. But Varys says if Daenerys lets him live, he will serve her well. But Daenerys reminds him that if he ever betrays her, she will burn him alive with her dragon's fire. Daenerys also tells Varys that if she ever starts to fade as a ruler, he better tell her before he makes any decisions of his own. It's interesting that Daenerys already has this in her mind, because she knows that the road ahead as a ruler is not going to be an easy one to travel. I wasn't sure what Daenerys would ever do to Varys when she found out he helped with the assassination attempt. I did expect a little more punishment than he got, but she does need good counsel right now since Jorah and Selmy are gone. Varys may have a checkered past, but he could come into use still in the future. Grey Worm then tells Daenerys that Melisandre is there and she wants to speak with her. Once again, serving becomes the topic of the conversation. Varys reminds Melisandre that she once served Stannis, and we all know how that ended up, which should make Daenerys question whether she wants Melisandre's help or not. But Melisandre warns Daenerys and tells her the long night is coming. She says Jon is the prince that was promised, and he will be the one to bring dawn by ending the long night. But Missandei says something interesting right here that may come into play at a later date. Missandei says that the noun has no gender, meaning the prophecy could mean it's the prince or princess that was promised. This is a cool reference because this also has something to do with the Valonqar prophecy. When Cersei met with Maggie the Frog, she told Cersei that the Valonqar will wrap his hands around her pale white throat and choke the life from her. Most of us already knew the Valonqar is a Valyrian word and it was gender neutral, but now it's show canon too, because Missandei made the reference about the prince that was promised prophecy, so this might be something to keep note of, but let's move on. Melisandre tells Daenerys that she has a role to play also. Daenerys and Jon will need to unite in order to end the long night. And I gotta admit, I like that Melisandre still stands behind Jon Snow even though he did banish her from the north. I'm glad Melisandre didn't flip-flop and say Daenerys is the savior now, and Daenerys only. But what I like even more is what happened next. Tyrion stands behind Jon as well. Back in Season 1, Episode 1, Tyrion and Jon met outside of Winterfell while Jon was blowing off some steam because Lady Catelyn made him go outside because she didn't want him to upset the guest because he was a bastard. And Tyrion gave him some wise advice. He tells him to wear it like armor, so that it can never be used against him to hurt him. This was the beginning of their relationship. Jon was a bit standoffish at first, but as they spent time together going to the wall and being at the wall together, they did grow a lot closer, and Jon began to respect Tyrion also. He knew Tyrion wasn't like any of the other Lannisters. There was something special about him. When Tyrion decided he was going to leave the wall to head back south, him and Jon shook hands and wished each other farewell. And I always knew Tyrion would come back into Jon's life at some point. And these two together will play a big role in the endgame. The cripples, bastards, and broken things will all come together and be the ones to end this long night. It won't only be the prince that was promised, it's going to take a group effort. But Tyrion tells Daenerys that he trusts Jon Snow, and he's an excellent judge of character. Daenerys does agree to meet with Jon, but she wants him to bend the knee as well. As much time as Jon spent with the wildlings, he may not want to bend the knee, but I think Jon will do whatever it takes to help his people, and basically all the people in the realm. Jon might end up being another king who knelt, just like Torrhen Stark did when Aegon came to Westeros, which is kinda crazy because Jon has Aegon and Torrhen's blood in his veins. But speaking of Jon Snow, that's where we go next. In Winterfell, training has already begun. Jon told everyone in episode 1 that he was going to need men, women, and children prepared to fight when the Night King comes. Jon has already received the Raven from Tyrion, which the letter reminds Jon of the quote Tyrion said to him when they first met: "All dwarves are bastards in their father's eyes." Jon likes Tyrion, and he trusts him enough to go meet with him. And although Sansa agrees that Tyrion was a good man, she knows it's risky for Jon to go himself. But Jon knows that if he doesn't form this alliance soon, Cersei will stay on the throne and run the kingdom right into the ground. Jon knows they can end her tyranny together, plus he really needs Dany's help when the long night sets over Westeros. If the dead get past the wall, Jon will not have enough men on his own to stop them, but with Daenerys and her army and dragons, they can at least give the fuckers a fight. And Davos makes an even better point. Davos remembers that Jon said fire can kill whites, and with Dany's dragons they can kill a shitload of whites at one time. Davos may be a little cautious inside as well, but he will stand beside Jon's decision. He knows what's coming, and he believes Jon, and together they can make the right choices for the people. Next we go down to King's Landing, where Cersei is having a discussion about Daenerys as well. Cersei is spreading propaganda in her favor about Daenerys. She warns the lords that Daenerys will be just like her father. She will feed people to her dragons, and she has the Dothraki with her, who are absolute savages. This is something Robert Baratheon was always worried about. He warned Ned and Cersei that if the Dothraki ever made it to Westeros, they would be in some serious trouble, and Cersei knows this. She will do or say anything she can to stop them. Cersei has no plans of stepping down off the throne and handing it over to a Targaryen. What I loved about this scene was what Qyburn had to say. He's already been hard at work, making a device to stop the dragons, and I believe with this device they will kill at least one dragon. It seemed like Daenerys would be unstoppable, but now that Cersei is gaining allies and has an anti-dragon weapon, you can see the playing field starting to even out a bit, which should make for the wars to come very exciting. Sam Tarly's father and brother are here meeting with Cersei as well. The Tarlys are House Tyrell's most loyal bannermen right now, and Randyll Tarly is one of the greatest battle commanders in history, so this would make for one hell of an alliance for Cersei. But Randyll isn't so quick to turn sides just yet, but Jaime speaks to him privately and gives him an offer he may reconsider. Jaime says Cersei's gonna need a new Warden of the South once Lady Olenna is defeated, and this would be a nice promotion for Randyll Tarly, but will it be enough to get him to go onto their side and betray House Tyrell? But before Jaime makes this offer, Randyll gives Jaime a nice jab by saying he's not an oathbreaker or a backstabber, which Jaime literally is since he stabbed the Mad King in the back. Although Randyll Tarly said this, you should expect to see him fighting for the Lannisters in the future. Next scene, we go down to Old Town where Jorah Mormont is being looked over by Samwell Tarly and the Archmaester. The Archmaester tells Jorah he should have cut his arm off immediately, but now it's too late. He might live for a few more years, but within 6 months Jorah is going to start to lose his mind, just like the Stone Men that attacked him and Tyrion. Fortunately for Jorah, he isn't just an average Joe, because if he was, the Archmaester said he would have been shipped off to Valyria where all the other Stone Men are. But since he comes from a respected family, and Jorah is well known throughout the Seven Kingdoms, they won't stick a boot in his ass just yet. But there is nothing they can do to save him. His grayscale was too far gone at this point. And Jorah does look pretty damn bad. His entire arm and abdomen is covered in it now, but Sam wants to help anyway. Sam spent time with Stannis and his daughter at the Wall, and he knows Princess Shireen had her grayscale stopped from spreading and killing her. Sam knows that something can be done to save Jorah, and when Sam hears Jorah say his name is Mormont, he immediately makes the connection to his father, Jeor Mormont, who was Sam's Lord Commander while he was at the Night's Watch. Sam is going to risk his life and career to help Jorah in any way that he can. We then go back to King's Landing where Qyburn takes Cersei downstairs where all the dragon skulls are, which is the same place Arya hid when she heard Varys and Ellaria talking about the wolf and the lion being at war with each other. Qyburn reveals what he has been working on, his anti-dragon weapon, and it works beautifully. He puts an arrow right through the skull of Balerion the Black Dread, Aegon Targaryen's biggest dragon. Balerion was much bigger than Drogon, and after seeing the arrow rip right through his skull, it's going to have no problem taking down one of Daenerys' dragons. Things are getting very exciting now. Cersei just leveled up once again. One of those arrows through the dragon's eye and it's over for it. One of the fastest ways to kill a dragon is piercing its eye, but it's not going to be easy to hit a moving target. Back on Dragonstone, Daenerys has a big meeting with all of her new alliances. Yara suggests that they hit King's Landing now and they hit it hard and the city will fall. But given Tyrion's character on the show, we all knew he wouldn't want this to happen right away. Not only because he doesn't want to kill all the people, but he wants to save his brother Jaime from being killed as well. This is kinda interesting because during Tyrion's trial he said he wanted to give everyone poison, but I'm guessing he just meant the people in the courtroom that day, and not all of the citizens in King's Landing. Tyrion does confront Ellaria though. He does know Ellaria killed his niece Myrcella. Now I know Tyrion is allies with the Sand Snakes, but I was expecting him to be a little more harsh in this scene. It was forgotten pretty quickly, it seemed. Tyrion hates Cersei, but he did not hate Myrcella. But my favorite thing about this scene was how they set the stage for the upcoming wars. Daenerys wants to cut off Cersei's food supply and surround her inside King's Landing, leaving her with nowhere to go. Since she doesn't want to destroy the city, this was the next best move in my opinion. Yara and Ellaria will go get all the troops from Dorne, then work their way back up to King's Landing. The Unsullied will attack Casterly Rock, cutting off the Lannisters' secondary troops and Cersei's only other place to bunker down besides King's Landing. Then she will have the Dornishmen and Tyrell army lay siege to King's Landing. Daenerys promises that Cersei will pay, but Olenna reminds her that peace never lasts, and although Tyrion is a clever man, she should ignore him. Olenna says she is a dragon, and she should be a dragon. Olenna doesn't want to play games. She wants Cersei snuffed out immediately. But then we go to a lovemaking session with Missandei and Grey Worm, and there's not a whole lot to say here other than they want to build up this romance in the show, only so they can kill one of them off later, and make it more emotional. One of these characters will die very soon, I think. And personally, I think it's going to be Grey Worm. I gotta be honest though, at first I thought Grey Worm might still have his pillar, but when he went down on Missandei, it pretty much confirmed that he does not, which totally sucks for Grey Worm, but hey, he made the best of the situation. We then go back to Old Town where it's obvious Sam is very anxious to talk about Jorah and his Greyscale. Sam is eager to discuss it because he knows he can help Jorah out, and he wants to help him, but the Archmaester says it's forbidden because Jorah is too far gone now, but Sam risks his life and career anyway, just like the description of this episode said he would. We go to Jorah's room where he's writing a letter to Khaleesi, but Sam comes in ready to get to work. And I thought this scene was kind of funny because Sam tells Jorah to drink some rum to ease the pain, but Sam takes a big swig of it too because he's nervous as hell. And I don't care how much rum Jorah drinks, that shit would hurt like hell, and there is no way he doesn't scream or at least pass out from the pain. Sam starts peeling the grayscale off that's covering his entire midsection. This would take a very long time and be painful as hell. But I believe and hope Sam will get him fixed up pretty quickly so Jorah can come back into the plot and get with Jon and go up north and kick some White Walker ass. Next we see Arya at the inn on the crossroads, and we get our first reunion with Arya and Hot Pie. But I gotta be honest, this reunion was a bit anticlimactic. Arya wasn't very excited to see him. I was kind of expecting a big hug. But the conversation they have is more important than that. Thanks to Hot Pie, we now know rumors have spread that Cersei blew up the Sept. She might have some people fooled up in King's Landing, but she doesn't have everyone fooled. And Arya lets it be known that she's heading there to King's Landing for Cersei. But Hot Pie drops a bombshell on Arya and tells her the Boltons have been defeated and Jon now has Winterfell back under the Stark banner. This was really cool. This is what changes Arya's course of direction. Since Jon has Winterfell, she decides to go home. Although I know Jon is about to leave for the south, this did make me very happy. Arya and Jon have a very good relationship together, and you can tell she really wants to see him right away. Jon gave Arya her sword Needle back in Season 1, and when Arya needed to give up her identity to become a faceless man, Needle was the one thing she wasn't willing to completely let go of, because she truly loves Jon as her brother, and I can't wait for this reunion. Back in Winterfell, Jon has received another raven, but this time from Sam. A very important letter, I must say. Sam tells Jon about the dragonglass down on Dragonstone, and Jon lets it be known to everyone that he trusts Sam, and he knows he must go right away to prepare the defenses against the Night King. But all the other Northerners aren't too accepting of the help from a Targaryen. Sansa reminds Jon that her father the Mad King murdered their family. And once again, Jon has to make the tough decision that might make him look bad now, but it will help humanity in the long run. No one else is thinking as far ahead as Jon is. He's the only one willing to do whatever it takes to stop the true threat beyond the wall. Jon didn't want to become king, but he accepted it because the North is his home, and he will do whatever he thinks is best to protect it. But Sansa thinks it's a trap. Jon tells Sansa that he must go, and he's going to leave her in charge of Winterfell while he is gone. And I thought this was pretty interesting because when Jon said this, Sansa shut up pretty damn quick. She almost had a look in her eye like she enjoyed the small taste of power. Once Jon said that, she agreed with him right away. And this could be a small sign of something to come in the future while Jon is gone. Jon then goes down into the crypts to visit with family before he leaves, and Littlefinger comes down and interrupts him, and he just doesn't shut up. Almost as if Littlefinger was purposely trying to push Jon's buttons. Littlefinger had the nerve to say he was sorry when Ned died, although we all know Littlefinger was the one who helped put Ned in that damn position. He even reminds Jon that Lady Catelyn didn't love him. I mean, what the fuck, Littlefinger, are you trying to get yourself killed? He also wants Jon to thank him for helping him during the Battle of the Bastards, but then he crosses the line. Littlefinger says he loves Sansa and Cat, and Jon grabs him by the throat and slams him against the wall, and he tells him if he touches Sansa, he will kill him himself. And I absolutely loved that. It just felt so good to see Littlefinger grabbed by his throat again and threaten to be killed once again. I just can't wait for it to actually happen. But something interesting happens next. When Littlefinger comes out of the crypts, he sees Sansa outside on the walkway, and his shady-ass theme music begins to play as he looks at Sansa. You already know once Jon leaves, Littlefinger will get right back to work on Sansa, putting a wedge between her and Jon even more. Littlefinger is going to try and snatch the North right out of Jon's hands. Let's just hope Sansa stays woke long enough to see him coming for it. Next we see Arya starting a fire as she takes a break from traveling home. This was one of my favorite scenes from the episode. As Arya is building her fire, the horse begins to get startled when it hears something moving around in the woods. That's when Arya draws needle and begins to scan the tree line, looking to see what's out there. And all of a sudden, she is surrounded by about 10 wolves. And she's frightened, thinking she's about to be attacked at all sides. But then we get the money shot, ladies and gentlemen. Something we've all been waiting for since Season 1, Episode 2. Nymeria emerges from the woods, and all the other wolves immediately start to back down. And this was absolutely beautiful. I really like this scene. Arya recognizes it's Nymeria, and she tells her she is going home, back to Winterfell. Arya wants Nymeria to come with her, and deep down I really wanted her to go with her too. But the way this scene ended was completely understandable in my opinion. Nymeria goes back into the tree line, and Arya knows she will not be coming along. And this makes Arya very emotional at first. But then Arya realizes why she isn't going to come, and Arya says, "That's not you." That was the same thing Arya said to her father. When Ned said Arya would become a lady and have children of her own, Arya told her father, "That's not me." And Arya knows that's not her direwolf either. Nymeria is wild now, and can't be tamed and settled down in one location, just like Arya has been. The way this scene ended made a lot of sense, I thought. I would love for Nymeria to be at Arya's side, but Nymeria must run with her pack, which I completely understand. And last but not least, we get our final scene of the episode. The Sand Snakes and the Ironborn are together traveling down to Dorne to get more troops, just like Daenerys had planned. Yara and the Sand Snakes are doing a little unwinding as they discuss who gets to kill the mountain. They talk about Dorne, Yara talks about going both ways, and Ellaria asks Theon for a drink, and Yara lets it be known that Theon isn't anyone's servant, but he will be Yara's protector. And this is when we get a little girl-on-girl action, but not much, because Euron Greyjoy shows up to crash the party. Euron slams his ship Silence right into their ship, and he had a claw on the front of his ship that he dropped down to sink its teeth into theirs so their ship couldn't escape. It was actually pretty damn cool. And then, it's party time. The battle on the sea begins, and Euron isn't fucking around. He looks like a damn maniac, and I absolutely loved it. Tyene starts dropping people with her blade, and she's very accurate with that damn thing. But Yara screams out that Ellaria needs to be safe, but it's already too late. The Ironborn are everywhere. I thought it was interesting that Ellaria asked for death. She knows she's not going to be treated too kindly no matter who takes her prisoner. And I'm surprised she didn't have some poison handy to just take herself out. But I guess they need her to be a prisoner, so she didn't have it at this time, although she always does. We then go back up to the top deck where Euron kills one of the Sand Snakes real quick, and Yara enters the fight and tackles Euron to the ground, but she rolls off him and ends up getting a blade put to her throat. Theon witnesses all of this, and Euron dares him to try and stop him and save his sister, but Theon is still shell-shocked. After what Ramsay did to him for years, he has severe PTSD, and as he looks around at the carnage, he freezes up. There is nothing he can do at this point, but mark my words, Theon will be given a second chance. He will get another crack at Euron. This won't be the last time these two Greyjoys see each other. Next time, Theon better bring his A-game and snap out of that shit. Because I have always felt Theon will complete his character arc by killing his uncle, and I really hope he does. But unfortunately for now, Theon regressed back into his Reek character, and he jumps off the ship to save himself. Yara, Ellaria, and Tyrion are taken away as prisoners, and will now become Cersei's new gift, and at the mercy of Cersei and the Mountain. As Silent sails away, Theon watches from the water, knowing that his sister is doomed. And only time will tell if Theon will be able to redeem himself before it's too late, and the episode ends. This episode did pick up the pace a little bit. There were definitely some better moments in this one than the first one. I like this episode a lot better. It was nice to finally see Euron in action and fully embrace his character some more. There was also an awesome callback to the books during this scene. There were bodies strung up to the front of the ship, which is something Euron has done before in the books. That was cool to see that they added that in there. I also loved the quick scene of Arya and Nymeria together. Although it was short-lived, but at least we got a little bit more closure on that. And we may see her again, depending how things play out. Also, with Melisandre being on Dragonstone with Daenerys, it adds a nice little extra layer to her story. That should get very interesting very soon. Most likely in the next episode when Jon arrives. So what did you all think about this episode? Was there stuff you loved or liked? Or was there stuff you didn't like or hated? Let me know what you thought about everything on this one. As always, thanks for stopping by and checking out the video. I hope everyone enjoyed it. And a big thanks to my Patreon supporters for always showing love. I'll see you all down in the comment section. Bye.